talk about the fact that Democrats have been labeling President Trump a to democracy for the better half of 10 years. Let's talk about how they have compared him to one of the worst mass in the history of the world, and that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden weaponized the court system and the justice system in this country against Donald Trump in an attempt to imprison him. He sat through a courthouse for 7 weeks this past year, and the Democrats were hoping he would go to jail for it. That is real political that has led to 2 heinous attempts on President Trump's life that by the grace of God, he was able to escape, and he is here with us today. So yes, President Trump knows a little bit about political violence because he's experienced it himself. And talking about the tragic realities of war that Liz Cheney and her father, Dick Cheney, have got this country into is not political. It's talking about the reality of the foreign conflicts that the Washington, D.C. establishment have sold.
Joy Behar has truly crossed the line this time, and there's no going back. In a recent episode of The View, she made a remark that stunned both viewers and her co-hosts, sparking accusations of sexism directed at Karoline Leavitt, Donald Trump's 27-year-old press secretary. Behar implied that Leavitt's appearance, rather than her qualifications, was the reason she landed the job. I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10, Behar said. The reaction was swift and fierce, cutting across political lines. It wasn't just conservatives pushing back. There was a collective outcry from those who saw the blatant hypocrisy. Behar, a self-proclaimed feminist who often champions women's empowerment, had just reduced a young political strategist to nothing more than her looks. Her comment wasn't just an insult to Leavitt. It was an affront to every woman who has worked hard to succeed based on merit alone. Critics quickly called out the contradiction. How could someone who claims to uplift women so easily demean another? The backlash came quickly, especially on social media, where one user summed it up perfectly. Joy Behar accuses Karoline Leavitt of being hired for her looks. Isn't this the very sexism The View claims to stand against? But Leavitt didn't just sit back and accept the criticism. While many expected her to ignore or deflect the controversy, she confronted it head-on. With facts, grace, and unshakable confidence, Leavitt dismantled Behar's claim, exposing the baseless attack for what it was. As the conversation unfolded, it became clear that it wasn't Leavitt who was on the defensive. It was Behar. Even Whoopi Goldberg, known for her strong presence on the show, appeared caught off guard by Leavitt's composed and commanding rebuttal. One of the most striking moments came when Goldberg tried to steer the conversation away, a common tactic on the show, but Leavitt refused to be silenced. Instead of letting the discussion be derailed, she doubled down, making her points even more powerfully. Viewers took notice, flooding social media with praise for her composure and strength. Many called it one of the most decisive moments in recent political television. But Leavitt didn't stop there. She used the opportunity to call out The View's long-standing double standard. This show loves to claim they're all about lifting women up, she pointed out. But the second a woman doesn't align with their leftist ideology, they demean her in the very way they claim to oppose. Leavitt's words struck a nerve not just because of what she said, but because they highlighted a broader pattern. From Kayleigh McEnany to Sarah Huckabee Sanders, conservative women have repeatedly been subjected to the same dismissive treatment on the show. By exposing this hypocrisy, Leavitt forced audiences to question whether The View truly stands for all women, or only those who share their political views. Then, the conversation took another dramatic turn when Whoopi Goldberg launched into an impassioned rant about wokeness. Goldberg, visibly frustrated, referenced a past statement from Leavitt where she had said, "There will be no wokeness here." This phrase clearly struck a nerve, triggering a fiery response from Goldberg, who passionately argued that wokeness has driven societal progress. But in doing so, Goldberg overlooked a crucial point. Wokeness has become a deeply divisive issue, often alienating more people than it unites. Instead of engaging in a constructive discussion, Goldberg took a condescending tone, suggesting Leavitt lacked an understanding of history and social change. Ironically, this only reinforced the very critiques often leveled against wokeness, that it can be elitist, dismissive, and out of touch. Backlash, and we're now questioning whether Joy Behar's presence on the show was worth the repeated PR crises she caused. According to ABC insiders, this latest controversy sparked serious discussions about The View's future. While the show thrives on controversy, there's a fine line between fueling debate and aliena. But this wasn't just about one heated exchange. It was a massive fallout. Instead of discrediting Karoline Leavitt, as The View may have intended, they ended up exposing their own inconsistencies. Far from being humiliated, Leavitt walked away stronger, while The View found itself at the center of yet another controversy, one they couldn't easily talk their way out of. Footage of Joy Behar's controversial remarks and Karoline Leavitt's powerful rebuttal quickly went viral, igniting a social media firestorm. Users across the political spectrum condemned The View's blatant bias and hypocrisy. Even those who disagreed with Leavitt politically acknowledged that Behar's comments were wildly inappropriate, praising Leavitt for handling the exchange with intelligence and composure. The fallout didn't remain confined to social media. It spread rapidly to mainstream media outlets. many of which highlighted The View's latest controversy and the growing concerns over its credibility. Meanwhile, behind the scenes at ABC, tensions reportedly reached a boiling point. Insider sources revealed that network executives were blindsided by the Ting viewers, and this time they may have crossed it. With ratings already in decline, incidents like these only deepen concerns about the show's long-term viability. But this isn't just about one scandal. It reflects a much larger shift in how media platforms are perceived. One of the most striking aspects of this controversy is the unexpected support Karoline Leavitt received, even from those who typically disagree with her politically. Social media was flooded with comments from viewers who, despite ideological differences, respected how she handled the confrontation. Many pointed out that Behar's remarks weren't just an attack on Leavitt, they were an insult to all women striving to succeed in male-dominated fields. As one commenter put it, the bipartisan outrage here says it all. Media platforms like The View claim to champion women's empowerment, but they rarely extend that support to conservative women. Even some liberal commentators couldn't defend Behar this time. One high-profile voice put it bluntly, "You don't have to agree with Karoline Leavitt to recognize that reducing her achievements to her looks is just gross." Seriously, what was Behar thinking? But this wasn't just a win for Leavitt. It was a wake-up call for viewers growing increasingly frustrated with the double standards in mainstream media. Meanwhile, ABC executives were in full-blown damage control mode behind closed doors. Frustration was mounting, and according to sources, Joy Behar's position on the show could be more unstable than ever. An insider revealed the execs were completely caught off guard by how bad this got. They're questioning whether keeping Joy on the show is worth the constant headaches her remarks cause. It's no secret that The View has been struggling with declining ratings, and this latest controversy isn't helping. Advertisers are reportedly getting nervous, reevaluating whether The View is still the right platform for their brands. As one source put it, executives are sick of having to clean up these messes. They're starting to seriously consider whether it's time for a major shakeup. Could this mean Joy Behar's days on The View are numbered? But this controversy isn't just about one host. It highlights a broader issue. What happened to Karoline Leavitt is part of a recurring pattern in mainstream media. From Kayleigh McEnany to Sarah Huckabee Sanders to Elise Stefanik, conservative women have repeatedly faced dismissive treatment, insults, and outright attempts to discredit them, not because of their abilities, but because of their political beliefs. Media platforms like The View claim to stand for women's empowerment, yet they consistently undermine women who don't align with their ideological views. Rather than engaging in substantive debate or acknowledging their achievements, they resort to personal attacks and condescending remarks. This hypocrisy doesn't just harm the individuals targeted, it weakens the very principles of feminism and equality that these platforms claim to uphold. But this time, audiences aren't letting it slide. The backlash against The View proves that people are seeing through the double standards, and they're speaking out. Karoline Leavitt didn't just defend herself. She turned the tables on The View and used the moment to highlight a much larger issue in today's media landscape. This isn't just about one episode or one comment. It's about the way conservative voices, especially women, are treated in spaces that claim to champion diversity and empowerment. And the growing outrage suggests that people aren't willing to accept the hypocrisy anymore.